Welcome to Stronger Than Yesterday, the podcast where we focus on becoming just a little bit better every single day.
Hello.
Hello. Right, it's just a live video.
Whilst RCS has some indigestion there.
Yeah, God
Eat some
damn it.
food today, buddy.
Oh, live, yeah. Yay, we're live. Woohoo.
Yay, live celebration.
Yeah, no one will be watching because everyone's at conferences and stuff. Watching.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like, is everyone still at conferences? Conferences finish real late now sometimes.
Well, they'll be being wined and dined right now.
Oh, yeah, I don't hang around for that bit. In fact, I booked a conference today and someone was like, are you staying for the rugby and the dinner? And I was like, no.
The rugby and the dinner?
Oh, yeah, no, actually. So this is good. The Sports Dentistry Association has its launch in November. And I'm off there. But you know why that's a good conference? Because it's the conference at an amazing bakery/restaurant. There's a rugby match you can go to, Scotland versus Portugal. And then there's a dinner as well.
Scotland v Portugal.
I mean, I'm not going to.
That's some high quality rugby on display right there.
I'm not there for the rugby. I'm there for unusually the dentistry.
Yeah. Well,
right.
It'll be good. Yeah, I wouldn't be staying for Scotland v Portugal. No offence intended to any of our Scottish or Portuguese viewers. We've got to be careful these days.
Yeah, you're so world famous now. You attract a crowd from all over the world.
I am, but let's just see if we're live, and then we'll just sort of crack on, I guess.
Well, yeah, just check that we are live in the group, and I'm not. I mean, I could be speaking to no one anyway, but give them the chance to not be here.
No, we're live. Woo.
Okay, sweet.
No idea if anybody's watching, but
well, that's fine. I'm not. Hey, you know why? I'm not here to ask the group questions. I am here to ask RCS the question. The grilling of, I feel like it would be good if I had some kind of fiery music right now, a la Diary of a CEO, but I don't. I just have my fiery voice. So
I can't do. Does he have fiery music?
There's this bit where he does this flicky intro into the podcast. It's like, and then he plays clips and they're like unanswered questions like, and do you know what the number one thing that's affecting your sex life is? And then it goes, do, do, do. And then you don't hear it. You have to listen to it.
He kind of, I need to listen to his podcast. I kind of think he's more of like a mellow jazz kind of guy.
Yeah, he has some interesting guests on, but I've spoken to a few people who don't like it because they claim that it sounds like just him going for his own therapy sessions.
I might have to try that. Sounds good.
Maybe that's what your podcast could be. I don't think, although I'm going to ask you at the end how much this felt like therapy when we get there, but.
Oh, you just give me spoiler alert. You just give me the answer, the last question. I shall write that down and make a note. Right, come on then. Let's go.
Right. So I'm here to give you a grilling because I think you've interviewed plenty of people, but everyone knows your name here, but not everyone knows who you are and what you're about. So I'm going to kick off with a very appropriate start.
All right.
In 3 sentences, you can interpret this as you like, but in 3 sentences, who is RCS? Go.
Start with a nice easy one. In 3 sentences, I am I could do it 3 words. Now, who am I? Hey, I'm just a guy out there doing his thing, trying to make his world a better place. Is that?
I like that. You didn't even really need 3 sentences.
No, I didn't. Yeah, just trying to make his world a better place.
That's 1 sentence, and it was great. So
cool. That was easy.
That was it. Yeah, end of interview. There we go. I know, I just thought it was, you can interpret that anyway, but I just thought that's a really interesting take to say you're trying to make your world a better place.
Yeah, it's always interesting when people ask that question, right? Like explain yourself. Your brain suddenly gets filled with all sorts of stuff, like a million different things. And was, oh my God, I'm this, I'm that, and that. And tongue swells up and it's like being put on the spot. Whereas I've just kind of learned, take a breather and then just say whatever comes into my mind. But yeah, making my world a better place. Because I think if I make my world a better place, then by definition, that makes other people's world a better place. And I think if everybody did that, kind of would be right, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I often think that if people worried less about legacy and more about their peers right now and themselves, like it would kind of just rub along nicely because You would just want the world to be better for yourself, right? I get it.
Yeah. And, what's wrong? Oh, making the world a better place. Well, yeah, I am. My one.
Yeah, well, your one's quite a nice one, though. I mean, look at it.
But that does include everybody who is in said world, right? So, yeah, if you're listening to this and you're in my world, I'm trying to make it a better place. That benefits you as well, right? So,
I like it.
Yeah.
And in true Maori style, you can then finish with, what can I say except for you're welcome?
Exactly. What can I say except you're welcome? You're welcome.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're here trying to make the world a better place, but you seem to have found your niche in doing that. You started off we know that you've been in the Navy. We've heard the Halford story. That is featured on a previous episode of the podcast. So we've heard the Halford story. We've heard you've got into the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
There's then this kind of gap. How did you go from the Navy? Because we then know that you became involved in aesthetics.
Yeah.
Where's the jump? Because you don't come out as a sailor and go, I want to sell boob implants. Like, maybe you do.
No. Although if I knew if that was a career, I probably would have done that straight off. But no, what happens? So I just kind of had enough of the Navy. They reached the point where I just had enough of being told what to do, if I'm honest. The discipline was just becoming a little bit abrasive, and I'd kind of reached the limit of where I wanted to go and just be more of the same. So I had this idea of becoming a animator, of doing digital special effects for TV and movies. Right? I love the movie industry. Many people kind of know that, but I wanted to get into it. So as a mature student, kind of helps you jump a few hoops, but then the degree course I did, I kind of probably should have gone through those hoops, because one of them was A-level maths. I've got a D at GCSE. My maths is shit. So I'm going straight into this 4-year degree and sat the maths test and just failed it miserably. And I realised that, I had a bit of an awakening that there were people on this course who were better technically than me at doing all of this, and also just cared a little bit more about it. They were really into it. One of the girls, Leslie on my course, she ended up working with Disney. So, but what I could do better than most of them was organise things, project management, creating, leading the projects. So I did that. It was quite an early degree. And then when I left 2002, ready to go out into the big wide world of, creative technologies, and the internet was there and everything like that, I left uni right at the dot-com crash. So there are loads of other people out there who had more qualifications than me, more experience than me, all going for basically the same jobs. So I couldn't do that. So I went into sales, basically. And I did sales for a digital printing company. And then I met Amy and I did sales for a design agency, but it was tough in selling creative concepts was hard. I wanted to sell products, and a friend of mine was working with this biotech company who had this thing called hyaluronic acid, and they were turning this hyaluronic acid into a thing that you inject into people's faces, because the world only had collagen right then. And they partnered up with a company that manufactured breast implants called McGann. And do I want the job? They're looking for someone in the southwest region, your neck of the woods. Did I want the job? I went, yeah. So look, they said, here's a car and there's salary. I was like, holy shit. That's good money. And the bonus that looks awesome. So yeah, so that was how I fell into it. That company was called Inamed. Worked with Inamed, and then Inamed got acquired by Allergan, 2004. And then basically I ended up in London with Botox dropped into my little portfolio of products. And that was it. RCS product specialist was born. And then did all right with that. Actually, I did all right with that. I was the number one salesperson in Europe. It's quite
That's a pretty good title to have.
Yeah.
Like if somebody says to me, okay, what are the credentials, you're peddling out this guy in a bowler hat. Like what the hell credentials does he have to help me with my business? And you can peddle out, you're the number one sales guy for a product in Europe. It's not bad.
No, but this is way before bowler hat days. I had hair, a little bit left.
No, that's shocking in TCM.
Yeah, no beard, shocking. Yeah, that was back in those days. But it was it was great. I really enjoyed it. I mean, at that time, you're talking to the early days of the aesthetics market in Europe. You've got this amazing product, Botox. You've got this amazing filler which we just created called Juvederm Ultra that we were launching out as well.
You'll never catch on.
Yeah, we heard that. It's like people don't want anything with lidocaine, like okay. And then I remember the first day we did a lip treatment with it, and it was in London, and I can't remember the doctor's name. I think, but it was like no dental block, and it was like a little bit of product on one side, a little bit on the other, and then he did boom, just straight through, and patient didn't flinch, and you heard this gasp in the room, and right then in my head, all I saw was.
Yeah. Stay out of the park, buddy.
Ka-ching.
That bonus is mine.
When they bring in you to come into, I'd like you to come and see me, and that never happened. And you got something really special when that works, but it's got a lifespan, right? And we knew we had about 18 months ahead of the marketplace. So long story short. We did very, very well with Juvederm. I mean, 18 months, we went from basically a startup product to market leader, which was it was a fantastic thing to be part of. I'm very proud of that. But I needed to do a bit more. I got promoted to account manager, and that's where I started working with breast implants, because it was fillers, toxins, implants, and I was working with the global brands and the biggest kind of organizations in the country, like Transform, Hospital Group, Skin, selling across the whole portfolio. And that's where the breast implant market was at its peak. And then we had the credit crunch, and it just collapsed. So it was a great time to be in this market, because it was riding a wave. The technologies were new. People still didn't fully understand toxins that well. Fillers were still relatively new. The implant market was doing quite well. Everything was driving. And then, when we hit the kind of credit crunch, that kind of the Great Recession, the market was still pretty resilient to it. Breast implant market died overnight. Double whammy, had the whole PIP thing as well, and the implant, and then the credit crunch, but that kind of killed it. It's never recovered. But fillers and toxins steamed on. It's good fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good, if you're going to say to somebody like, you were there at the beginning of when fillers caught on, and like you look at how things change now. I mean, there's nobody better really for the job to be like, now teach me how to sell something now, because you were right there when it started, right?
Yeah, it's interesting about how you sell. So one of the kind of reasons I got promoted, in a sense, was I was a bit of an outlier. So how pharmaceutical sales generally work is they go by it's a numbers game, right? More calls equals more sales. 6 calls a day, detail the product, you'll get more sales. Whereas I looked at my call rate, and 6 calls a day, I was like 2, if that. And like, how's this guy doing like 2 calls a day, but he's still like smashing target repeatedly? So someone came out in the field with me to kind of see what I was doing. And I took them to see a customer who had just recently switched from Dysport or Azulor to Botox. Yeah. And he sat there and he asked this guy, he goes, "Why have you? What was it that made you switch from the old product to our product?" And they both pointed at me, and I thought, this is awesome. It didn't go down well at all. It was actually probably the worst thing that could happen, because what they found is I wasn't detailing product. What I was doing was helping these guys to grow their business. And if they wanted my help, the product came with me. So you buy my shit and you get me. That's not how that works. It's product first. And that wasn't how I sold. And it's never been how I've sold. So yeah, I was like extracted. Like, what are we going to do with this bloke? So it's like, just, give him to the commercial unit and see if he can bring, the corporate accounts together and add value there. And I did that, and I did it really, really well. Did it to the point so well that they created more of me. So,
oh, wow, that's what I thought, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, not more of me, more of the role. And then I got bored and left.
And here, I mean, a long story short, but then here we are now.
Yeah.
So basically, you've gone through the phases of selling a product and then noticing that actually people are not buying products, they're buying a person, essentially.
Yeah, it's always been, it's a relationship sell. I mean, the aesthetics market is a relationship sell. But some organizations still feel it's product driven. Of course, it all has its place. It's a portfolio, right? It's a balancing point. Obviously, a rubbish product isn't going to sell, but the great product and a terrible support mechanism or something that you don't like, and it's still not going to work. So it's got to be that balance. And I think people got to get that a little bit more now.
And in terms of, obviously you say you've been there earlier and stuff like that. How do you, when you look at the market now, in your wisdom and over time, because actually I would say there's been massive change, development, we've now got people looking at multiple different kind of assets they have in clinic, How would you say, like, overall the market has changed since you started out?
I'm gonna be honest. I never, ever, ever expected it to fucking end up like this. Honestly, back then I was really proud of what we did. Botox was one of those brands. It was just kind of like, who do you work with? Botox. Oh, wow. That's really cool. And it was cool. It was a cool product to work with. It was a cool sector to work with. It was a bit glitz and glam. It was kind of, had its issues, but it was fun, right? It was cool to be part of. And now I never expected it to be like this. There's so many challenges with it, this tragically, if you think about it, and I kind of have thought about it this way, is, someone died recently, and I didn't expect, how did that happen? What's the sequence of events that's allowed that to manifest itself in this sector that I am part of? And am I still proud of being part of it? Yeah, I'm conflicted. I definitely am conflicted. I'd like to think that it can get better and it can come back from where it is. But it's a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of honesty that needs to happen. There's a lot of people need to look in the mirror and think, am I doing the right thing ethically? Because you can blame practitioners, you can blame these different things, but people are still getting products, they're getting insured. So there's a lot that needs to happen. And I'm not the one to crusade. I'm not the one to fix this because, I'm not medically trained. It's not it's part of my universe, but it's not my circus. Yeah. So yeah, it's changed a lot. I think some ways for the better. I mean, product technologies have developed, et cetera, but in a lot of ways for the worse.
And that's really interesting because what we hear a lot from the people that you and I work with is often that kind of like embarrassment factor about working in the sector, and people that come from professions like nursing and doctoring and dentisting and anything. We've got phlebotomists, all sorts, lots of people, and they come in and they say, I'm actually, I really love what I do, but I'm a little bit embarrassed about it. So we've got a lot of people like that who all say a similar thing and are all really intelligent, really beautiful human beings that say this. So is that something that you like? Do you want to help those particular people? What brings you into an aesthetics industry where you say, okay, the market has gone downhill, I'm in a place where I don't really like it? What drives you then to want to help and build this kind of niche little community that you're in?
It's a great question. So I got some advice a few years ago, and the advice was create your own market. So lots of people say, the market's saturated. It's this, it's that. It's like, well, if you create your own market, it's not. And if I look at this sector, my market, the people I want to work with, the people I want to help grow, develop, they're not the ones who are doing the dodgy shit. Let's put it that way, right? Because they won't last long in my world. I'll call them out on it. No one wants to be called out on stuff. So they're not going to be part of my world. Because a large part of this market is made up with kind of owner-operator businesses. They're lifestyle businesses. So by helping them with the business, I'm helping them, ideally create better lives, pay mortgages, put kids through school, buy a car, all the fun, all the stuff that life creates, right? Or businesses create the money, the business creates the revenue to drive your life. And for me to help them, they need to be creative, because I need to think a slightly different way about how their business works and how it grows, committed, and I don't know, have a sense of humour.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of that is missing in the aesthetics community. There's a lot of people wearing a shiny suit, speaking Latin, and I've said this before, that I think there's a lot of people here trying to impress other people in shiny suits speaking Latin. And I think what we all take from the community is that we're very much breaking away from that. And do you see that almost as a solution to this problem in a kind of weird way? Because it seems like it's making it unprofessional, but do you see it as the opposite of that almost?
It's professionally unprofessional and human. I think once I kind of broke out of essentially I stopped wearing a suit, and when I kind of relaxed a bit about this market, and there's a story is, when I sort of sat there with my tattoos out, talking to someone who I thought, really wanted to impress, and I had this existential crisis about whether I went and bought a shirt or not. And he didn't bat an eyelid. It was like, okay, I've been set free. And there is a way to, you can make money in being authentically you. And that's what I think I want people to do, to feel. So if your authentic self feels comfortable, wearing a suit, using, technical terms, then that's absolutely fine. That's great. There's a part of the sector for you. But I actually think that the larger part of the sector doesn't feel comfortable like that, in that overly formal way. The technical language bounces off most people. They don't understand it. So you have to, it's not dumbing it down, it's just making it accessible. I don't like that term, dumbing down, because it's just, it's disrespectful. You're like, we're dumbing it down. We're dumbing it down for people who haven't got a medical degree. You haven't got any medical qualifications at all. It's not dumbing it down. It's just called explaining it, So walk into a garage, buy a car, and they start talking about, the components of the engine. You're like, well, this one's just, do you know the crankshaft, the angle of the cylinders into the crankshaft is actually 12 degrees on this. And you're like, I don't give a fuck. How big's the boot? Can I have a shopping in it?
No, to be fair, one should definitely consider. When I bought my car, I think he saw me coming because I went in and I knew what it was worth to me, so I knew what I was going to pay for it. Like I didn't barter on it. And also I looked at it and I was like, it's black and it's shiny. And I turned to him and I went, well, it is rather pretty, isn't it? I mean, he saw that one coming, but that's all he needed to know. He said, to be fair, I respect you not opening the bonnet. He said, most people do it, but you can't even see the engine these days. So I know they're a fraud there.
When you bought your car, you walked in and he went, yeah, she'll fit in it.
Yeah. And I went, I'll fit in it. It's no problem.
He had about 15 other people going in there. So it's a bit small. He's like, I know just the one for you. It's the one over there. The black thing over there that only people around 5 foot can fit in.
Yeah, and it's perfect because nobody else wants to get in it or drive it. So I just drive it alone and it's lovely.
For those of you who don't know what Stevie's car is, it's a Mercedes A-Class. Very nice. The AMG black, triple black.
Yeah.
Like the Batmobile. But it's tiny.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like when the other half who is over 6 foot tries to drive it, that's a no-go. But that's fine.
Yeah. So, as we say, so I think it's, just to summarise the question, I guess for me it's about just helping people to communicate what they do in a way that their customers understand. So they trust the person they're talking to, and then buy from them, because that's when people buy off you, is when they trust you, right? And if you put in these barriers up, this academic arrogance, this educational level, dumbing things down, you're just building barriers. And that's not how you inspire people.
No.
Are you tired of the algorithm-driven marketing madness? Do you want to break free and get real results? Then listen up, because I've got something for you. Richard, an award-winning coach, author, and entrepreneur, is on a mission to empower small business owners just like you. At imrcs.com, you'll find unique coaching methodologies and transformative programs are designed to help you achieve success and freedom. Here's what you're going to find. Real people, real stories, and real solutions. It's time to crush those obstacles and take your business to the next level. Remember, it's not just about working hard. It's about working smart with the best tools and the best support. So don't wait. Head over to iamrcs.com and start your journey to success today.
And so obviously, those are the struggles that a lot of people here are kind of facing in getting themselves into business and getting themselves up and running. For you to get where you are now, with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of wisdom, and I would say with a lot of authority and a lot of network and all that kind of thing. What was your biggest struggle to get where you are now?
My biggest struggle, the biggest struggle to get here now is the same struggle that I have every day, which is focus. It's I have just a blessing and a curse, and I know I work with a lot of people with the same kind of thing. Is the blessing is a very agile, creative mind. The curse is it doesn't like being told what to do, and it doesn't like to focus on anything for a long period of time. So it's easily distracted. And what I've looked at how I sort of try and stop patterns from repeating is what often happens is I create things in my mind, and then, yeah, it's a great idea. And then because it's not been built, I get, where is it? It should be done now. I've created it in my mind. That's good enough. But you have to build things 3 times. You have to think it first, then you have to plan it, and then you have to create it. And then by the 3rd time, if I'm still interested in it, we're doing it. So there's that. It's staying focused. And the other thing I've learned to do, or the sort of problems is, I like being an innovator. The problem with being an innovator is you become the first person to do things. And the problem with being the first person to do things is you're the one who finds all of the problems. And the way I've innovated was with software. So, I created one of the first paperless client management systems called iConsult, which there was a massive market need for it. And that's been proven by the fact that most people now use iPads to do the consultation process, right? So I knew that, so the market need was there. Problem is that when I built it, I was still getting questions from people like, are digital signatures legal? People won't give you their email address. Stuff like that, really basic stuff.
Wow.
But also because I'm not a practitioner, so it wasn't a system that I used. I had to rely on kind of information fed to me. Which made it a bit of a mess. But, I got it out there. It worked okay. But the guys who came the second time round, so my competitors, found it very easy to overhaul me because I'd literally started the whole process, proven concept. And but I didn't lose my shirt on it because I sold a version of it to another sector, colorectal sector, and they're using it still, which is quite nice.
That's something we didn't know that happened to, because I always, iConsult, I had it, we put it to bed, but it's nice to know that some version.
Its cousin is still out there. I mean, probably it's nothing like the system I developed, but it's out there doing its shit, and it worked really well. People who used it loved it, but
literally doing its shit because it's in the colorectal sector.
Yeah, it is. It's helping people do its shit. And then the second innovation that I did do and I really shouldn't have done was Cosmocoin, my cryptocurrency for the aesthetics market. I got my pants pulled down on that one because I fell in love with the idea of it, and I fell in love with it so much I ignored the reality of it, which is if I asked this very, very simple question, this is the benefit of hindsight, right? So tip for people, if you're thinking of creating something, ask your customers whether or not they really need it. So if I'd asked someone, do you stay awake at night because your system isn't on the blockchain and you don't have a cryptocurrency in your system? The answer would have been
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and I could have asked 100 people that, and I'd had 100 answers were all the same no. But I listened to a few different people, and I went down not a blind alley, but for a year I was building a cryptocurrency. I was talking to lawyers, I was talking to techies. I did it. I mean, I got it up and running. And one plus point on that is people were burning £500,000 to £1 million doing this, and I got mine off the ground for 50 grand.
Yeah.
But it still went into a market. There was no need for it. So as soon as Bitcoin receded, my kind of investors quite rightly went, right, well, we're going back to our day jobs, and I was there with the broom sweeping it all up. And that was painful because I was financially on the hook for that. Which had a big impact on me and the family. And
I guess from that initial kind of statement about a struggle to filter ideas, you've got to build it 3 times and look at if you're on the third run of that and you're still interested in it, then, if you're on the second run and you got to the third run and you're interested in it. Again, do you see that as like the biggest struggle that you see in the people that you're trying to help as well? Because a lot of those parallels seem very similar. I built something that I didn't actually test whether there was a need for it, and so it's failed. And, we talk about certificate syndrome and the idea filtering. Oh, this is really exciting because a man in a shiny suit sold it to me. Is that something you see happening a lot with other people?
Yeah, definitely. And it's because I've been in that situation, and I know how excited I can get over things, and I can see that same excitement in people. And it's like, it's not my job to kind of destroyer of dreams. That's you. That's what your job is. Here's a plate of chips. I'm going to piss on them by asking you questions. Oh, that's Stevie's job.
It's job, great. I get paid to do it. I love it.
Yeah, it's to be objective. And what I have in my world now that I haven't had literally up until the beginning of this year is objectivity. I ask people the question, what do you think? And I'm prepared for the answer to come back, it's positive or negative, and I'll listen to it. I'll weigh it up, and I'll still kind of, think about whether or not I should do it or not. But I often act as that for other people. So, people who spend money on technology, bits of kit, I get it. Sales have to go around, right? You've got to invest, invest the money, but there are certain times when it makes sense and certain times when it doesn't make sense. And when the rep turns up with the amazing shiny piece of kit and the big bill and then tells you, oh, you've only got to do X number of treatments to make it pay for itself. I mean, yeah, okay, that's partly true, but you've still got to have the campaign. You've still got to have the marketing budget. You've still got to, have the infrastructure to be able to feed it. And if that's not there, it's just going to sit there for 3-4 months while you build that infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So that's why I often find having the conversation is I'm, not saying no, don't buy it. It's, we need to test the market demand first. Don't do what I didn't do, which is test the market demand. If the market demand for a cryptocurrency in the aesthetics market was there, brilliant. It wouldn't have failed. It wasn't there, which is why it did fail. I didn't find out that it wasn't there until I fucking launched it. And that's totally the wrong thing to do. And now saying it with the benefit of hindsight, of course it's obvious. It's obvious, but I just got so excited about the possibilities that the reality faded into the background, and that's part of my makeup, the eternal optimist. And I've got to be aware of that. So those are the kind of things that kind of scupper me along my path. But on the other hand of it, like I said, it's a best blessing and a curse. Is without those creative moments, I couldn't do what I do.
Yeah. I think it's finding a balance and surrounding yourself with the people that give you the stuff that's maybe uncomfortable to hear, but that you need to. Like, hello, here I am. It's true.
I listen to you. I'll be honest, I listen to you now. I don't tell you to shut up.
No, I know it's taken 3 years, but I got there in the end. Yeah. Okay, so before I ask you the 10 most important, I've actually got 11 of the most important questions to ask you because I have blended one of my most important questions from my podcast.
Oh, okay.
I've asked you all of the ones that you ask everyone else, but I have blended. But anyway, before I get to that point, I'm going to finish on rounding this up in your expertise because I think we've had a very good tour of the inside of the brown egg, as I like to call it here.
Thank you. Thank you for not calling it a potato.
I don't think it looks like a potato. I can't call you that because I look at my entire self as a potato. So It would be offensive. But brown eggs, fine. But I think there's a lot of things in there that people didn't necessarily know about you and didn't necessarily know about your background, which is what I wanted to get out of you. But now, if you had to give 3 tips to someone who has already started their business, because I actually think that's the easy bit. You get started, you're excited, owner operator, fantastic, you've got the freedom. They're on that next step. They're like, right, I need the next bit now, a next rung on the ladder. I'm ready to grow. I don't really know how to do it. What's your 3 biggest tips for somebody who's going, right, I'm at the point where I need to grow in some direction. Don't know what it is. I don't know what the next steps are. What are your 3 biggest tips?
All right, first one is, to answer that point, as you said, is, I want to grow in some direction. Well, first thing is you need to know what the goal is, right? You must have the North Star. If you don't have it, you drift. And we do a lot on goal setting. We always have done a lot on goal setting because it's the bit that I think a lot of people miss. And I've actually been kind of looking at it again through different eyes over the last few weeks, and looking at people who I kind of admire, respect in the world, and looking at points where they've kind of gone off track, of course. And funny enough, Lewis Hamilton, there was a point where he basically wasn't doing particularly well, that the 8-time world champion, he definitely won that last one. Went a bit, and by his own admission, it was because his goals weren't clear. Mm. And you think, well, racing driver has a goal. Is it a goal to win a race? No, the goal's not to win it. It's more than that. It's everything. It's, your spiritual goal, your emotional goal, your physical goal, what makes you you. And that has to be crystal clear first, because if you're not totally clear on it, doesn't matter what anybody does for you. You're going to drift, and nothing's going to stick. So that's first one. Have a goal, then create a plan. Yeah, I mean, these are things I say to people all the time, right? Is create a plan, get help to create a clear plan. And plans don't need to be complicated. In fact, I think the simpler a plan is, the more likelihood there is of actually completing it. So I don't like business plans, right? People ask me, do you write a business plan? Unless you want to borrow money, don't write a business plan. What you need to write is a marketing plan.
Yeah, interesting.
How to sell it, right? Unless you want to borrow money, yes, I'll talk the finances and stuff like that. If without a marketing plan, it's irrelevant. Because if you can't sell it, you're not going to make any money anyway. So it doesn't matter. Pricing comes into that as well, but that's all cool. And then the third bit of advice is, after you've done those first 2, is just fucking do it. Just do it. That's the hardest part. It's the hardest part of it. Just fucking do it. Oh, but so many different reasons where you talk yourself out of it. Find out what the first step is. I call it, what does Monday look like? What does Monday look like? When you've got that clarity, you'll know what Monday looks like. 8:00, Monday morning, the first step, the first job, you'll know what it is. If you don't know what that is, you're not clear enough. Go back, check your goal, check your plan, write a list of, this is what I need to do, and then on that Monday morning, you start. Simple as that.
And that is basically what you've described, is how you went through those 3 iterations of, I think the idea, I plan the idea, I execute
the idea. Yeah.
So it's like, that's the biggest problem. Here's the solution. That's it. People don't need us anymore. They have all the wisdom. We can just go now. That's it.
The problem is when they need us is when I created my goal, I planned, I've executed it, and it's not worked.
Yeah.
Or I've done it for 3 days and I'm bored.
Oh, that's a big one. It was exciting for the first 3 days. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what, buddy? Being an athlete is exciting for the first 3 days. It's not for the next 362.
I've learned that. Why isn't it fun?
You've got loads of love flying in from Facebook. Lisa's saying, she's all about authenticity. She's said that you've given her some great advice. She's doing some stuff.
Is that Lisa from New Zealand?
Yeah.
Kia ora, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
I love having my Kiwis back. They're awesome.
This is like breakfast time in Kiwi land, isn't it? Is it?
It is. Yeah. 11, 12
hours. Over at cornflakes or
12. 11 hours ahead, 12 hours ahead. I can't remember what the time difference is, but yeah, it is literally other side of the world.
She's now saying Kiora, which I thought was a drink, so I think maybe that means something that I don't understand.
Kiora is hello. It's a greeting in Te Reo Māori language.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've just literally just insulted an entire people's. Well done, Stevie.
Well, I don't think that's. She says it's 7:38 a.m. there as well. So
oh, cool. Yeah, it's bang on 12 hours. Sweet.
Bang on 12 hours. So she's watching this over a Cocoa Pops, I expect. She probably has something nicer for breakfast. She's not a child, but Amy. I think that's where I struggle is a plan, a fixed goal. She struggles to look that far ahead, which interestingly, we've just done that in the community, didn't we? On Monday night, I went through doing the plan and so many people said the same. And the homework we got to do there is hoping that it's going to, get them to do it, feel inspired. And a lot of people said that's helping them. So a lot of people that.
Awesome.
Amy, it is not squash, Stevie. Oh, Kiora, right, the Kiora comment. I was like, that's right, yeah. No, wow. Just saying, that's what...
Right. When we finally get around to doing our GSD in New Zealand, you can apologise in person.
I was going to say, I can't go now. I'm banned from the country.
You'll be they're lovely. You'll be fine.
Right.
All right.
I've got 10/11 very important questions to ask you. Now, I'm going to say, I think I know your answers to at least 8. No.
Okay.
7.
All right. Oh, yeah.
So don't be contrary just because you think I know. All right. But I'm going to answer them. I'm going to ask them. You're going to answer them. And I'm going to see if you can spot the one that I threw in, which is actually a question from my podcast, which is insanely important.
Actually, before we start, I'd say to the guys watching, play along. Give me your answers in the chat. Be interested in to see what you guys come up with as well. Your 10 important questions. So pop them in the chat.
I think that should be, everyone should do that. There's a post in that that's going to light up, I reckon. Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
Question number 1. Beatles or Elvis?
Oh, I didn't expect that one.
You wrote these, buddy.
Yeah, I know. I wrote them because the first one's quite contrary. Do you know, before I give you the answers, do you know why I wrote Beatles or Elvis?
Well, no.
Right, well, it's Quentin Tarantino's, one of his philosophies, you can define anybody by they're either a Beatles man or an Elvis man. It was a deleted scene from Pulp Fiction. I loved that. It's like, because it's like, Beatles, a certain type of personality, an Elvis fan, another different type of personality. So I'm absolutely Elvis, right? I think the Beatles are the most overrated group in the history of music, even more so than Take That.
Yeah, and I agree, and I said that, and everyone hates me for doing it.
Whereas Elvis, slightly dodgy, troubled genius, who put his faith and trust in people I don't think really had his back, but he was, he was surrounded. He had a good team, around him, and I think he had a great voice.
Well, he had a great catsuit. Let's not forget. Anyone wearing an all-in-one is definitely a kindred spirit of mine.
That's not my favourite Elvis. That's the kind of 1970s Hawaii Elvis, spit fat, eating too many peanut butter and fried peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. 1967 comeback special Elvis in the black leather.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the Elvis specialist, but everyone knows these phases of Elvis.
Yeah. That was, and you got young Elvis with the attitude and the.
I love young Elvis with the attitude. I'm still there. That's my gen right now.
Yeah, and then you had TV Elvis, movie Elvis.
Yeah, that's not my favorite.
All the same story.
Hello, this is about me. I'm Elvis. We just wove some other characters around me.
He made loads of money. And very last little point about Elvis, right, is his from a commercial point of view, Colonel Tom Parker is an absolute genius. He made money out of releasing a set of badges which said, "I hate Elvis."
Oh, wow.
The people out there who hated Elvis, so he made badges saying, "I hate Elvis," and sold those as well. So he made money off people who hated Elvis. Genius or what?
All publicity is good publicity.
Absolutely.
So we had split because Amy and Lisa have both answered the question, and unfortunately, your New Zealand compatriot has written Beatles, and then she wrote "lol, I retract." So I think she's probably out of the group now.
She's considered her response and gone, actually, he has a point about Elvis.
Yeah. Okay, number 2.
Guns. Right, got it.
Superman or Batman?
Ooh, Superman or Batman? Do you know what? It depends on the day. I'm 95, most 9 times out of 10, Batman. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a Bat fan. Every now and again, everyone needs a Man of Steel.
Yeah, but I think nobody needs a man that's like allergic to some sort of weird rock.
Yeah. Well, what you mean, kryptonite?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And where's his
That's my toddler way of describing Superman. He's a
where's his
man.
pants on the outside? But also, the interesting part of that question, though, is they are actually you can get very philosophical about it because they are both the two sides of humanity. There was one beautiful quote once that says that Superman was the American dream, Batman is the American truth.
Mm.
And how they created Batman was they basically took all of Superman's assets, essentially, almost practically immortal, unlimited superpowers, alien, and flipped it. And no superpowers, vulnerable, human, created Batman, which is pretty good, pretty clever, I think.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of those kind of like, oh yeah, what you pick says a lot about you. And I'm like, just don't psychoanalyze me by the comics I like. Because I just read the comics that Richard sends me.
Sends you, yeah. I haven't sent you the latest one yet. I'm a birthday behind.
I'm just about to start The Watchmen, so I'm behind on my reading because I finished Preacher and I was so disturbed by it that I had to just take a break.
But now you think you're in an elite club who have read Preacher.
Yeah, I know, and my boyfriend totally judged me reading that in bed because it is graphic. But
anyway. Those of you who don't know about Preacher, you need to check it out. I'll tell you this little story about. I met Glenn Fabry, who does the artwork on the covers for Preacher. Met him in Worthing, of all places. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Just at that time, he rubbed me up the wrong way, and he was a little bit up himself. It was more his handler. He had this like hype man with him. Who was like, this is Glenn Fabry, the legendary Glenn Fabry. And I was there with my kids, a bit pissed off because they were looking for who does the face painting. So I thought, fuck it, I know I'm gonna wind this guy up. So I sort of tapped the world famous Glenn Fabry on the shoulder and said, are you the guy who's doing the face painting? And he's like, no. It's like, yeah, you are. So he'd like to be Hulk, he'd like to be Spider-Man. And I just, he's like, this is the world famous Glenn Fabry. I'm like, he's the cover artist for Preacher. I went, he'd be brilliant at face painting then. He wondered, I'll do it when I was going to get some facts, and then wandered off. I didn't see him again. Anyway.
None of your kids wanted to be Preacher. None of them want to be the vampire.
Oh, Cassidy, not yet. Anyway, moving on.
Okay, number 3, night owl or early bird?
Night owl, absolutely. Yeah, tried early bird. They're just very odd, weird human beings, frankly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no disrespect intended.
I think, everyone needs to embrace this because I also say to people, you don't need to be an early bird to be successful. There's way too many people in business being like, you need to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to get the work done, whatever time of day suits you.
Yeah. Oh, the 5 a.m. club. Yeah. Personally, I've looked at the 5 a.m. club. Not one single person in there I want to have a beer with. So I'm quite happy not being in the 5 a.m. bedtime club. That's a club I want to be in. In fact, no, I'm already in that.
I mean, I get up I don't. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I wait for my tea to be delivered and then I get out of bed at whatever time that comes. It might be 5, it might be 5:30, but you would have a beer with me. No, you wouldn't because I don't really drink, but.
Yeah, I'd have a beer with you. But then you'd fall asleep.
Yeah, no, 9 p.m. I'm done.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry. Hard to get these evening chats in because I'm like, I need to do the bedtime routine soon. But
you're doing very well.
Thank you.
9 o'clock, you're like.
Yeah, literally, I get off this call and I'll be like, where's my bedtime brew? Get me a Horlicks. Get my slippers on. I need darkness.
Do you feel a hot EC coming on? Anyway.
Number 4, obvious question, Apple or Android?
Apple.
It's not even a question.
Not for any. Yeah, I do like them. I think they've annoyed me a bit because they've closed everything down and they've kind of gone against what they were once. But at the end of the day, it's great kit. It works. And I tried Android phones and it's a whole kind of zigzaggy thing to get into it. It's just way too confusing.
Yeah, we've actually got a disused, and this is really sad. I'm just going to put the dust off it. This is an Android phone that sits on the desk here. And it was a really great idea because it's a Fairphone. You can replace all of the parts on it, but it was absolutely useless. And I was like, this is such a great idea, but I think it needs about 5 gens. And when that's good, we'll go back to Android, because then it's a great idea because it's ecologically and ethically sound. But until then, it's a fucking useless brick. So fix it. Number 5, PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation. I was Gen 1 PlayStation. PlayStation came before the Xbox, and unfortunately, back then it's like, I was poor, so I couldn't afford to have a PlayStation and an Xbox. And Bill Gates was still very much involved with Microsoft at the time, and I didn't like Microsoft, so still have this strange kind of dislike of Xbox. It's in my house. It's there, spying on me.
It was the natural progression because it was Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah,
that was a great thing. And then it was PlayStation. And then when the kind of like Xbox and all that, it was just a thing of choice because all the games were the same, and the control of the Xbox was so dumb that I was like, you need 3 hands to play this.
The dumbest controller was a Nintendo 64.
That was a dumb controller.
So it had that bit, the thing in the, it's like the bit in the middle.
Yeah.
Used, looked like a trimaran. It's like, what the that stick in the middle. No one ever used it. It's like, it's just pointless. But
I remember when they first brought out the joysticks on the PlayStation though, and I was like, I ain't using those. And I remember then first playing Call of Duty, and you had to use those, and I was like, no, my eyes just spinning around. And I'm a dentist. I have manual dexterity. I can't use these.
Yeah, but there's this house is filled with, Isaac's got the PlayStation 5, and the problem with gaming, I do enjoy it, but it's time consuming. So I literally, if I'm going to play a game, I'm using my PSP, my 2006 PlayStation Portable. Still works.
Yeah,
I use that because I can just jump in, jump out quick, as opposed to waiting for the entire. I mean, they're beautiful to look at, but yeah, that ship's sailed.
Yeah, there's other stuff I want to do with my life, and Crash Bandicoot was it. It's like a peak there, and that's it. Tekken and Crash Bandicoot, you don't need anything more. Number 6, what's your favourite movie?
My favourite movie? I love film, so I have lots of them. But if you're asking what's the one that I will always go back to and like watch over and over and over again and enjoy it as much as the 1000th time as much as the first one, absolutely, it's The Empire Strikes Back.
Do you know what? I didn't think you were going to say that, but I can totally understand why you do.
What did you think I'd say?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's...
I didn't think it would be anything as... Like, I didn't think it would be Top Gun. I didn't think it would be anything as obvious as that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They're all too late. So the thing with, I suppose, Empire Strikes Back is it was released 1980. So I was 10. I wasn't 10. I was 6. So it's one of the first movies. I remember, obviously, I remember going to the cinema to see Star Wars. I remember being there, but I remember the film. But Empire Strikes Back is the first film that I kind of remember watching, really loving, because I actually understood what was happening. I watched, really engaged with it, and it was, it had all of the different parts of it, and I still absolutely love that film. Might even watch it later on.
Do you know what? I watched the original trilogy of Star Wars like over and over again as a kid, early morning, because I was in the 5 a.m. club since I was about 6. So I get up and I watch like a Star Wars film every weekend. And when the new ones came out, they just weren't the same. And it was
they're not for my kids love the prequels.
Nah, it's not for me.
It's their generation, whereas mine is like, that film's got everything. They're on the run for the whole thing. Vader's a proper badass in that one, killing people left to right. He's even killing his own men.
It's brilliant. I love it.
And
I think, you can't get away from the effects being pretty good for the time. It's not like Jason and the Argonauts when you watch that back now. Like, that's just appalling. When you watch Star Wars, it kind of hasn't dated so bad.
You can't diss Ray. That's Ray Harryhausen. I won't have a bad word said about Ray Harryhausen.
Well, all right.
Like without Ray Harryhausen, you don't have Star Wars. You don't have Jurassic Park. You don't. So
that's fine. Go out for a beer with my dad for that one. Okay. Cool.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I know. You could both just sit there and bash me. Number 7. What's the song that you rock out to? I don't know the answer to this.
Song that I rock out to. There are a couple. I think Hendrix, Voodoo Child, absolutely nailed on. That's, not turning that up really, really loud when when Amy's not in. And blasting that out is brilliant. But also there's a Smashing Pumpkins song called Soma, S-O-M-A, which I really love because it's got like one of the best fucking guitar drops in history. Just really beautiful mellow build up. And then you just get this avalanche of sound. And it kind of teases you because it's quite quiet. So you turn it up. And then when this guitar drop hits, it just fucking blows everything. And I absolutely love that. So probably those two, Pumpkins. I rock out to most stuff with a guitar, to be fair.
Well, that does not come as a surprise. You're a bearded man wearing some jewellery and a lot of black. So we all knew that. It was never going to be Aqua Barbie Girl, was it? Again, number 8, obvious question. Sun or snow?
Sun.
Yeah,
I don't understand winter sports. I've tried them and no. I don't get it.
What about winter sports that are not in snow? So, like, for me, no, hear me out. Winter sports in the UK. So, winter sports, the main one I'm thinking about that I love is cyclocross. But you've got other stuff in there, like doing trail stuff, like muddy, boggy, come home brown.
Yeah, all right. I mean, okay, so if in that case, well, rugby. I played rugby for 20 years.
There you go, winter sport.
Right, yeah, it's a sport played during the winter. Yeah. But it's not a winter sport. So like, skiing, snowboarding. I wanted to like them. Don't get me wrong. I've been snowboarding a few times and I just don't enjoy it. I pay loads of money to get on to have a ski pass that takes me to the bar.
That is the thing, is that I've never been skiing and everyone keeps going, oh, you'd love it. And I go, yeah, but you know what? It's a really expensive thing to find out I don't love if I go, isn't it? I'd rather go to somewhere hot and sunny in the summer, but there we go.
But then if I was, if we ever get out to New Zealand, Queenstown, I've heard tale of this little gem in South Island, New Zealand, Queenstown. I've been there once. It was summertime, but apparently for winter sports, it's epic. So,
well, maybe I just want to try that.
Mm.
Now, number 9. What's your favourite ice cream?
Neapolitan. That's easy.
Yeah, your kid's favourite as well, but there you go.
It's 3 ice creams in one, and when you smush them together, it has a very unique taste.
Stop smushing your ice cream, sir.
It's got a unique taste. Problem is, in my house with kids, I never get Neapolitan ice cream. I get but most of the time I get strawberry ice cream, right? Which out of all of them is the worst flavour. It tastes like plastic. But
that's why they leave it.
Yeah, that's why they leave it. So they'll eat the chocolate, then they'll eat the vanilla, and they'll go to them like, what the fuck? So,
I actually think my mum occasionally would buy Neapolitan ice cream, thus my love affair with ice cream started. And I always did exactly the same. It was only me and her in the house, so she just had to eat the strawberry because who else is going to eat it? And we're poor, yeah. We can't afford to buy any more.
So, I think one day my children will move out, and one day I'll go to the freezer and there'll all 3 flavours of chocolate, flavours of ice cream there. And
then do you get the scoop and you serve it from
across
the...
Yeah, across all 3. Yeah. Okay. Stick it in a little cone. Sweet. Okay. 2 scoops if I'm feeling, it's a treat day.
Exotic.
Yeah.
Number 10, what's your go-to business book?
My go-to business book. It'll be the one I'm writing. That'll be the one I go to, business book. Bollocks to the Algorithm, coming out early 2025. Available at all bookstores near you, i.e. Amazon. That'll be that one. But the book, I suppose there's a couple that have had a big impact on how I think and work. And one is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. That's been a kind of, if you've ever read it, you'll see elements of that book in how I work, in what I say, how I work, things that we talk about. If you've not read it, it's not it's a hard going. It's not kind of an easy one to pick up and smash through. But it's it's worth persevering with. It'll give you a lot of insight. And I suppose the other one, there's probably three, but Dan Priestley's Oversubscribed.
Mm-hmm.
That helped a lot because that really painted the picture of launching, how you create demand. That's one thing that Dan Priestley's really, really good at, is how do you stimulate demand? So you go to, you want to go test market demand. But if market demand isn't there, or you can't see it, how do you stimulate it? How do you, and that book Oversubscribed is really, really good about that. And it just kind of, tells very, very simple stories. Like, when people are creatures of, we creatures of habit. And if you go to a market store and you've got two selling coffee and, one's got a queue a mile long and there's no one in front of that one, which one are you going to go for? The one with the queue, right? Why? Because your perception is that it's better. Is the perception correct? Who knows?
I mean, I'm always the one that tries the other one because I can't be asked to wait. I don't care how.
Oh yeah, I'm not queuing.
No. I hate queues. I fucking hate queues.
Yeah, I'm not queuing. I'm going to. How shit is your coffee? It's not bad. Well, I'll do.
Did you get out of a muddy puddle? No, right. I'll drink it. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen Covey definitely is the one I'll always flick back to, just because there's so much wisdom in it. Yeah,
I think of it more as I have that book and it kind of lives under my bed, weirdly. Because I kind of see it's a bit like a kind of life Bible, really. And it was nice to have the hard copy. I would recommend, if anyone's going to read it, get the hard copy of it. There it is. Dog-eared and used.
Dog-eared and used, but it's got my notes in it. What is that?
Still a palm tree. There we go.
Yeah. I'm going to read sort of very, very quickly this one. It is one of, in the book, he asks you to write your mission statement in his principles. So this is dated, I think this is, April 2011. Mm-hmm. So I did, this is just the summer I left Allergan. And my notes are Richard's mission statement, just in case I forgot who it was. My principles, 15th of April, 2011. Live a healthy life. Learn 2 new skills every day. Be inspirational. Help others to grow and develop. I think I've stayed pretty close to those.
I was going to say, if you wrote that now, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think I've stayed pretty close to those. So my core principles have never changed. And that's one of the big things I got from this book, is it helped me to define who I am, who I wanted to be. And I haven't really deviated from that in 13 years, 14 years. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, I think everyone should read it. I think it's a business book. I think it's a life book. I think it's a life and business changing book. So everyone needs to read that and have a copy of it somewhere, knocking around. And finally, and this is always a great note to finish on, what is the best bit of advice that you've ever received?
Best bit of advice I've ever received? Well, never eat yellow snow.
You don't go anywhere snowy, you hate it. So that's true. That's pointless advice.
Yeah. It's fantastic because I've had lots of good advice. I've had lots of really great mentors, actually. I've been quite lucky in that instance. But I think the advice that I've had that stuck with me the most is I got when I was 17. And it was from a chief petty officer in the Navy. And it was, once I finished your kind of part 1 training, you get this kind of little bit of a debrief and you sit there. And, you sort of went through, it's like, you've got everything it takes to be a very, very successful Matlow young man. I was like, oh, that's quite nice. And he said this, and it stuck in me. He says, but you remember this, is the Navy is like life. It gives you nothing for nothing. Take what you can when you can. And that's stuck with me all the time. It gave me weirdly, it gave me an acceptance of risk, healthy risk. Take what you can when you can. You get nothing for nothing. And he was absolutely right. You can't just sit and wait for life to give you things. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to put in and I think when I don't do that, when I see people not doing that, it kind of frustrates me a little bit. But that's probably that's the bit of advice I've carried through my life, and I'll pass it on and I'll carry it through to forever.
I really like that, and I love listening to people's best bits of advice, because I feel like if I collect all of these things, and I do, and I collect them, you've got kind of a good life advice book. Maybe I'll publish them someday and attribute them to everybody, and it'll be a lovely little coffee table book.
I think we should collect everybody's 10 most important questions.
Yeah, that would be great.
And publish a book based on it.
Why haven't we done this yet?
Because we haven't got enough 10 famous questions. Because you've got to find someone famous, and like Arnold.
Oh, I can ask loads of people that. Look at me, I'm dead cute. I can just rock into someone in the box. Please, will you answer my 10 questions?
10 questions, please.
Ice cream is, please.
Oh yeah. Good luck. Yeah, you find Tom Hardy and ask him his 10 questions. Good luck with that. He looks, he's very pretty, but I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he looks a bit grumpy.
I have never yet cracked a grumpy person. Honestly, swear to God, I'm great at it. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only RCS.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. Quite interesting.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming through the interview and answering your own questions. Did you spot the one I threw in?
Ice cream.
Yeah, ice cream is very important to me, as you know, so there we are. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the little grill session that you had there. I know you were quite nervous about it, but
it was cool. That turned into a nice little podcast episode. I'm just kind of reading through people,
all of the answers.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad. Thank you for playing along, guys. It's really interesting.
Well, also, Lisa's just put here in terms of the advice. Richard Crawford-Small, when I was feeling insecure at a conference years ago, they don't pay your fucking mortgage. Get out there. So there you go.
Yeah, little nugget of wisdom, that one. There we go.
Full of them.
Oh, right. Thank you for taking the time today, Steve. I appreciate that.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I look forward to hearing that very soon on a podcast near you, us, and also our coffee table book that we shall now publish.
Yeah, 10 most important questions in the world.
Yeah. Important.
Let's make it happen.
Will do.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Nice. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.